This is Plant-Based Briefing. Why do most users quit Ozempic and what happens when you stop? By Dr. Michael Greger at nutritionfacts.org. I'm Marian Erickson. This is the Plant-Based Podcast where I curate and narrate with permission a variety of articles on plant-based and vegan living in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And now let's get to today's Plant-Based Briefing. Why do most users quit Ozempic and what happens when you stop? By Michael Greger, MD at nutritionfacts.org. Why does weight loss plateau on GLP-1 drugs, and why do most stop using them within just 3 months, even if they can afford them? People may not understand the potential limitations of the new class of Ozempic-like anti-obesity medications, especially given the wide hype these drugs are receiving. For example, the drugs don't work for everybody, and even when they do, weight loss stalls out after a year. The drug insert included in every package of the high-dose Ozempic used for weight loss shows graphs charting weight loss on high-dose Semaglutide, also known as Ozempic, and sold as WEGOVY, versus placebo. You can see that after about a year, weight loss stops, even if you keep injecting yourself with the drug. Is it because you've plateaued at a normal weight? Sadly, no. They started out obese, and they ended up obese. Why does the weight loss stall out? Because of what's presumed to be a near exponential rise in calorie intake, as the same amount of effort to cut calories, whether through willpower, drugs, or surgery, is met with increasing resistance as ongoing weight loss activates your feedback control circuit, stimulating your appetite. So at first, the massive GLP-1 activity triggered by the drugs lowers your appetite, but as you lose weight, your body fights back, ratcheting your appetite back up. So the same amount of massive GLP-1 stimulation causes less of an appetite suppression. Within 12 months, this resistance, together with the decreased total energy expenditure from being lighter, matches the persistent effort to cut calories, and with calories in matching calories out, weight loss plateaus. The same thing happens whether you're restricting calories on a diet, injecting these fancy new GLP-1 Ozempic-type drugs, or going under the knife for bariatric surgery. Take high-dose Ozempic. After the 3-month ramp-up in dose, people are eating nearly 1,000 fewer calories every day. No wonder they're losing weight. But then the body fights back, pushing against the high GLP-1 signaling and jacking their appetite back up. Not all the way up, because they're still injecting these drugs every week, so they still appear to be eating 400 fewer calories a day than they used to. So if they're eating less, why aren't they continuing to lose weight? Because they're expending 400 fewer calories simply because they aren't dragging 30 extra pounds around with them wherever they go. What happens if you stop the drug? In one study, everyone was started on high-dose Ozempic for 5 months and started to lose weight. Then some were randomized to be unknowingly switched to placebo injections. Those who continued taking the drug continued to lose weight until the plateau, whereas those who switched to placebo started to regain all the weight they had lost. It's the same with tirzepatide, sold as Zepbound. As soon as people stop taking the drug, the weight starts coming back, and any benefits that had been achieved start to evaporate. When people stop taking the drug after being on it for more than a year, the pounds pile back on, 2/3 regained within a year. And there are some other evaporating benefits. Blood pressure came down with weight loss, but then climbed right back up as if they never even took the drug in the first place. And inflammation and blood sugars started creeping back up too. So not only does weight loss stop as soon as you go off the drug, but the weight you had lost before comes back. So you may have started out obese and ended up obese, and to maintain your less but still obese status, you have to keep taking these drugs, presumably every day or week for the rest of your life. So these are forever drugs, the golden goose for big pharma, drugs for lifestyle diseases that you may have to take lifelong, since you aren't treating the underlying cause, a fattening diet. As the popularity of Ozempic-type drugs like Semaglutide soars, what do we need to know about their effect on our weight? Even these newfangled anti-obesity medications aren't a magic bullet. The overall weight loss benefits are notable, but nonetheless limited. The best of them can produce a 20 to 25% weight loss, but they still leave most users overweight or obese, only modestly less so, and thus still facing major health risks. And of course, the drugs are only as effective as long as they're used. Not only does the weight loss plateau, but years or presumably a lifetime of continuing treatment is required just to maintain their initial benefits. And most people stop taking them within months before they even reach an effective dose. The manufacturers recommend ramping up usage over 4 or 5 months. Based on 169,000 real-world patients using GLP-1 drugs for weight management, most individuals didn't stay on their prescribed treatment for even 3 months, which suggests it was unlikely they were achieving clinically meaningful weight loss. In fact, only about half take the drug for even 2 months, and 80% quit by 6 months. Why don't people stick with it? One reason may be that these drugs are costly, and costly is a bit of an understatement. The costs of these drugs are enormous, like $1,000 a month in perpetuity, since any lost pounds can pile back on if you stop taking them. WEGOVY, the high-dose Ozempic used for weight loss, costs up to about $1,350 a month. So that's like paying $15,000 out of pocket every year. And some say healthy eating is expensive. You could have food as medicine programs deliver healthy food to your door for 10 times less. You could even have fully prepared meals delivered to your door at a fraction of the cost of the drug. Of course, the drugs should get cheaper. There are hopes that competition will lower prices, but each GLP-1 drug is protected by approximately 20 patents, many up to 2040 or beyond, so they probably won't get much cheaper anytime soon. But isn't obesity itself expensive? Even factoring in health benefits and discounted prices, these drugs may not be cost-effective. In one analysis, total annual healthcare costs doubled for patients, going from about $13,000 per person before starting the drug to $26,000 after. Now, the benefits of weight loss accrue over time, but because lost pounds are commonly regained after stopping the drug, an additional vexing conundrum is created for payers like insurance companies. Why shell out all that money to get people taking the drug if most are just going to stop taking it and simply regain the weight? Why are the drugs so expensive? There's no rational reason other than greed, according to Senator Bernie Sanders, noting that Canadians and Germans are paying about 10 times less for the same drugs. WEGOVY, the high-dose Ozempic used for weight loss, can sell for $1,300 a month in the U.S., but less than $100 a month in the U.K. Researchers calculated the estimated minimum price, how much it could be manufactured and sold profitably for. So for $40 a month, Novo Nordisk, the makers of Ozempic, could be pulling in a 10% profit margin. But why make 10% profit when you can make more than 3,000% profit? But don't they need those huge profit margins to recoup research and development? I mean, it's expensive to develop drugs. Novo Nordisk spends twice as much money enriching its shareholders by doing things like stock buybacks to jack up stock prices than it does on all R&D. In fact, most big drug companies spend more on these kinds of self-enrichments than actual research. Whatever the actual cost of developing a drug companies may spend far more on marketing drugs than developing them. While gouging patients $1,000 a month for their drugs, Novo Nordisk was spending millions of dollars wining and dining doctors to prescribe even more of them. Hundreds of thousands of meals and snacks served to promote drugs like Ozempic. In fact, Novo Nordisk was actually suspended from a pharmaceutical industry trade association for failing to disclose its sponsorship of a training course for healthcare professionals that just so happened to plug one of its GLP-1 drugs, a violation bad enough for the Royal College of Physicians to sever its ties with the drug giant. Anyway, back to our original question, why do so few people stay on these drugs? Well, people may start out obese and end up obese. Is it worth paying $1,000 a month just to stay less obese? You can see why people might just cut their losses. But no, the study showed that most people who quit these drugs after just a few months were not only insured, but they had their drugs covered by their insurance. So maybe the reason most people quit so soon after starting is not due to their cost, but rather the side effects, which we'll cover next. You just listened to Why Do Most Users Quit Ozempic and What Happens When You Stop by Dr. Michael Greger at nutritionfacts.org. And tune in tomorrow to hear more about the side effects and how to control them, including Ozempic face. So please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.